7:30. Good evening and welcome to the Town Board of the Town of Ossining regular meeting for Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Councilmember Feldman,
She's here.
she's here. Okay, Councilmember Meyer,
Present.
Councilmember Manicchio,
Here.
Councilmember Fields Towell,
Here.
and Supervisor Levenberg.
Here.
Okay, we have our first public hearing on local law regulating bicycles, bicycle to the electric assist, and electric scooters in the town of Ossining.
So tonight we have two public hearings on our agenda. The first is the continuation of a public hearing on a local law that we introduced a few weeks ago. We are still hoping to connect with some of the Village of Ossining's consultants on this law, but as part of Project Mover, but the work of these consultants is hopefully on pause as we await public news on the NYSERDA $7 million Mobility Prize Challenge. Fingers crossed that the Village of Ossining will get some good news very soon, and then we can revisit the conversation about this local law with their consultants. If we do not have any public comment this evening on this local law, I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing, and then we'll renotice it when we are ready to bring it back with more information and more details. So with that, I'll open it up. If there's anybody here who would like to comment on the electric bike law, proposed local law, now would be the time to raise your virtual or regular old hand and be recognized. And seeing no hands, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
And just Council Tomadon, do you have anything else that you want to say before we take that vote to adjourn? There's not a specific date where we're just going to adjourn it?
Yes, you know, we've been carrying this one over for a little bit now, and I think it would just be productive to be able to go back to the village's consultants if and when we're in a position to do so, and come back to the board with a revised draft, perhaps at a work session, that we can renotice another public hearing.
Okay, sounds good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Wonderful. Adjourned. So adjourned. Next up.
Okay, so next we have a local law to amend the zoning code to establish a special permit use for artist communities.
So we are opening the public hearing tonight on a proposed local law to establish a special permit use for artist communities. We discussed this legislation at a work session in August. After we open this for public comment, we will be adjourning it, the local law, to a date as advised by council while we await feedback from the county planning board where we are required to send it. With that, I would ask if anybody is here who would like to comment on the proposed local law to establish a special permit use for artist communities. Is there anybody here who would like to be recognized? Don't all raise your virtual hands at once. Very quiet crowd. Okay. So with that, Council Adana, when would you recommend we adjourn this public hearing until?
So as you mentioned, we do, as part of the general municipal law, we have to send this proposed local law to the county planning board for their input, and they will have 30 days to respond. We will be sending that out tomorrow. So I would recommend October 11th which I believe is your first legislative session in October. Hopefully, even though the county has 30 days, generally they don't take the full amount of time. And so if we have comments back, we can address them at that point. Otherwise, we can just hold it over again as necessary.
Sounds good. With that, could I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing on the artist communities to October 11th?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. And next up, we have a special presentation from our very good friend, Susie Ross, who is the chair of our Green Ossining Committee. Susie always brings to our attention opportunities to affirm our town's commitment to environmental sustainability, as well as lots of other good work that we do. And we're grateful for Susie for your leadership, as well as the entire Green Ossining Committee of committed volunteers. You may or may not be aware, public, that on the ballot this November is the Clean Water, Clean Air, Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act. And this Bond Act stands to provide many billions of dollars to and significant amount of funding to local governments across the state to further environmental initiatives and get us closer to carbon neutral goals. But we need to make sure it passes. We need the money to drive the demand, to pay for the jobs, to pay for the training and retraining of people to fuel the green economy. We have a resolution on the agenda later this evening to consider formally supporting the Environmental Bond Act. First, I would like to turn it over to Susie to share with us why it's so important for the town to express its support.
Thank you. And thank you for having me here. And also thank you so much for the support for all the variety of things we work on. But you guys also do a really good job of doing stuff on your own that really sets us apart from a lot of other municipalities. And case in point, this resolution is one of them. But I will say that when I really work with a lot of environmental groups across the state, Westchester County and Ossining stand out. Both the village and the town have done incredible work thinking about things in terms of how they might, some of them feel like very PR associated things, but they matter because people will look at Ossining and the variety of different things that that you guys sign on for and sign up to, and they look at that as, well, they can do it, we can do it, or this is how they did it, and they'll take a look at the way programs work. Our food scraps program is one of the things I think about often because I get asked about that all the time. And that's just one example of many of the things that have come, out of our community that other municipalities are looking at. The Bond Act, the reason I was suggesting a resolution be signed and supported is because there are only 4 communities across the state right now that have signed resolutions in support of the Bond Act. I wanted to just give you a little bit of information about the Bond Act and sort of make a case for your support of signing a resolution. This Bond Act is the first time that in 26 years that the state of New York has put a bond proposal focused on the environment out for vote. And it was supposed to be done during the Cuomo administration in the same November that COVID took place. And because of the chaos that was happening all around, it was determined that it wasn't a great idea for it to be on the ballot. And so it was taken off. It was actually originally called the Restore Mother Nature Bond Act. Fast forward to this past legislative session, the state, both Assembly and Senate, agreed to this proposal. The governor upped the ante from Cuomo's $3 billion to $4.2 billion. And I believe in part it was because of the fact that the state didn't really come up with a ton of really great environmental legislation this year. And passing this ballot provides for a lot of things that perhaps some laws might have provided for. So it's $4.2 billion. There's 4 buckets of money that will be available to municipalities based on whatever it is that they determine they need. 1.5 billion is set aside for climate adaptation and mitigation, and that includes things like green buildings, 500 million for zero emission school buses. There's a portion that's allocated for disadvantaged communities for air and water pollution, planting street trees. We've taken advantage of some of these programs already, and so this is another way for that to continue. 1.1 billion. So I gave you 1.5, 1.1 billion goes for flood risk measures. Again, things that we've taken advantage of when you think about our shorelines. And these could be projects that include wetlands, streams, forests, wildlife habitat restoration, all types of things along those lines. And we're a community that should be watching that, because we're going to probably want to take advantage of some of those opportunities there as well. There's another 650 million that goes to land conservation and recreation for such things as open space, farmland protection, park improvements. Again, we could really be looking for that type of funding as well. And then another 650 million for water quality improvement projects, which could be replacing pipes and maintaining water treatment plants, and ensuring, of course, that water is safe and clean. So it's a fantastic opportunity for us to continue as a state to provide environmental opportunities for municipalities to take advantage of funding opportunities when they need it. We know climate change is happening. It's happening much more aggressively and much faster than had been predicted. And we're not going to be in the clear for some of that. It's going to affect us. And in addition to all the great opportunities that we might have for funding, it will support nearly 100,000 jobs. It's actually 84,000 jobs are predicted to be available, local jobs, that is, local New York State jobs. And the reason that's so important is obviously because not only are we thinking about this like, okay, we're spending, but from an economic perspective, we are providing for, obviously economic growth. So that is why it's called the Clean Water, Clean Air, and Green Jobs Bond Act. So I'm happy to take any questions. I do want to mention that in addition to the request for a resolution, I am talking to the village as well tomorrow evening. The county is actually doing something that perhaps no other county in New York State is doing, and that is they as well are working on promoting the importance of this bond act. So where some of you perhaps might have been paying attention last November when we lost 4 of the 5 propositions. They were environmental propositions, and there was no support, no visual support behind them. I think they were all environmental propositions.
I thought that was voter reform.
There was one, I think there was one voter reform. I think that was the one that passed, but there were like 4 other ones there were 5 propositions and only 1 passed. And in part, that was due to the fact that there was not enough of a promotion, awareness about the propositions themselves. And there was nothing that said, turn the ballot over and vote yes. And so that's what the promotion is behind all of this support. And that's what the county will be telling people. Make sure to turn the ballot over, educate yourself on what the proposition is, and it is Proposition 1. So there's about 300 environmental groups more coming that will be supporting this. The county will be supporting it. And again, I think we are the only county as of now that is putting some effort behind its promotion. And I think that is it.
Thank you. So do any of my board colleagues have any questions for Ms. Susie Ross?
I'd just like to say thank you for bringing it to our attention that we can send the letter. I'm a huge supporter of this bond act and all that it could do for not only our community, but the entire state of New York. So I'm looking forward to supporting it and promoting it as best I can. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
Anybody else? So 100%, I concur that this is a really great effort. I'm glad that we can hopefully step out in front again, as we have many times before as a community, to get behind what we know is critical to the survival of our planet, to actually making the investment in the green economy, making the investment in clean water, clean air, and making sure that incentives are in place when there are some, sort of still somewhat new technologies or maybe still somewhat more expensive ways to get to a greener habitat and greener greener buildings, having incentives, greener transportation, greener food systems, etc. Having the incentives in place to make it easier to do, and having the job training in place is going to make a huge and transformative difference. We're already behind the 8 ball on this, so there's no time to waste, in my opinion. So with that, I would like to once again thank Susie Ross and for all of your advocacy work. And again, if there's no other questions, we will be moving on to announcements.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye. And we are going to talk about Green Austin in my announcements, FYI. Okay, so anyway, this Friday, September 16th, before I get into this Friday, I just want to say right now, still have a few minutes. There's a cornhole tournament going on over at Briar Cliff. Yes, that's right, Jennifer Fields, Two-Wheel Councilwoman. You and I, we tried our best, but I just got some very, very good tips from Mayor Vesio and a few other of his, and Kevin Hunt, from a few friends who are at the cornhole tournament at Law Pavilion in Briar Cliff. So you can run on over there and see if you can get in before it's too late. This Friday, September 16th, from 3:30 to 5 p.m. at the Community Center in Austin, join the Bethany Arts Community and Austin Youth Bureau. They've gotten together for a program called Generated Images of Austin, a workshop with instructor Katarina Hoger. You can learn how to create images through coding. Bring a laptop and an image of Austin that speaks to you somehow. I know the sunset this evening definitely did. This interesting program is for ages 12 and up. Reserve your spot now at villageofaustin.org. This Saturday, September 17th, also at the Community Center, don't miss the latest opportunity to take advantage of the Green Austin Repair Cafe from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Just another way that we try to keep ourselves from having to buy new things all the time. We can fix up the old ones, and they can actually help you fix up your beloved items for free. This month, Green Austin will also be collecting computers in any condition, which will be repaired and donated to assist others in need through a partnership with Austin's rebootpc.org. Visit greenoustin.org for more information. The Talk Culture Book Club resumes for this fall, this Saturday, September 17th at 3 p.m. at the Austin Public Library, hosted by the one and only Barbara Robinson. Thank you, Barbara. This month's book is That's My Story, and I'm Sticking to It by Spike Lee. Can you speed read it by Saturday? Good luck. If not, grab your copy of These Ghosts Are Family by Maisie Card and get prepared for October session. The Westchester County Board of Legislators is holding a very important public input session / sessions, because they're happening. A few, one of them is this evening, regarding redistricting the county legislature's district boundaries, similar to what they did with the Assembly and the Senate and the congressional boundaries, to reflect our county's increased population measured in the 2020 census. So every time we have a new census, we have new population counts, we have an opportunity to redistrict. A public input session is being held tonight, Tuesday, September 13th, until 9 p.m. at Peekskill Middle School. So if you're not playing cornhole, get you to Peekskill Middle School. That's 212 Ringgold Street in Peekskill. Another session will be held tomorrow, Wednesday, September 14th, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Board of Legislators Chamber in White Plains. You can also join this meeting via WebEx. If you go to westchesterlegislators.com/redistricting 2022-2022, you'll get more information. You can see details for the 2 other public input sessions that are being held in Southern Westchester next week. That's all for my announcements. Does anybody, I think there's a fish fry or fishing event coming up at the Austin Boat and Canoe Club. Maybe Councilman Feldman would like to.
The family fun day and fishing event is October
Oh,
1st, I believe.
okay. We have something else coming up before then. No? No. Okay, you don't have all the dates. It's not a problem. Well, I think that they're far enough out that we'll get to them next time. It's all good. Are there any other announcements? I will just shout out to our fire department for putting on a very lovely memorial for 9/11 this Sunday at our park for combined Briarcliff, Ossining at the waterfront. And thank you to Councilman Minichio for your stalwart participation with our fire department being a deputy chief, and also to our superintendent of highway department, Pete Connolly, superintendent of highways, for his good work, always looking good in uniform. Thank you. And thank you for your service. Are there any other announcements? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to get into my administrative report. We are progressing in our application for a New York Forward grant. For those who are unaware, we have talked about this a little bit before, but the New York Forward program is very similar to the Downtown Revitalization Initiative that the Village of Austin won in the last round, but it's scaled down to meet the needs of smaller communities, maybe larger land-wise, but smaller downtowns. So after discussing with our grant writer and our town planner, we have decided to put our hat in the ring for the Executive Boulevard Stormytown Road area. We will be seeking public input on our application during an upcoming town hall meeting on Tuesday, September 20th at 7:30 p.m. I hope you'll join us to learn more and share your input about revitalizing that area of Austin and how it can help support economic development throughout our entire community. Have you taken the Car-Free Day pledge yet? We're hard at work. I think actually Victoria Caffarelli must have taken it because she's been walking to and from work every single day now. We're hard at work with Green Austin, the Village of Austin, 511 New York Rideshare. There are leaders in this effort, the Austin School District, and the local business community planning for a fun, sweet, of forward-looking sustainable activities for the days surrounding Car-Free Day. Car-Free Week will begin this Saturday, September 17th, and run through the official Car-Free Day. It's International Car-Free Day, actually, on September 22nd. There will be lots of Car-Free Week fun happenings, including at the Farmers Market this Saturday. You are not going to want to miss it. Take the pledge now to reduce or eliminate your car usage for at least one day during Car-Free Week by visiting www.511nyrideshare.org/car-free-day. Got it? If not, you can always find stuff on our town website, which, by the way, was down for a few days, but is now back up. Actually, just one day, 24 hours. Very happy. It was a problem with the server. It's all back and running now. We're good to go. Anyway, you can also follow us at Town of Austin on Facebook and/or Instagram to enjoy all the car-free car light fun. Last year, Austin won the prize for the most signups of any municipality in New York, and we were acknowledged for our innovative programming because we are innovative. We're looking to repeat that feat this year with everyone's help. If you're the owner of a local brick and mortar business that would like to support Car-Free Week, please fill out the Google form linked in my supervisor's update this week to let us know what you might like to offer patrons as a reward for participating. Incentive, for example, $1 off any purchase of $10 or more, a stamp on a frequent customer card, etc. and we will add your establishment to our promotional efforts. Small tax reminder, school tax bills have been sent out and payment for the first half is due by September 30th. It'll be here before you know it. If you pay directly instead of through an escrow account and have not received your bill yet, please call the tax receiver's office at 914-762-8790. You can also view and pay your bill online at the tax receivers page of our website, which is townofAustin.com/CMS/receiver of taxes. And it is secure. Finally, as mentioned, I did mention the outage on our town website, and I do want to just apologize for the inconvenience that might have caused for anybody who was trying, in fact, to pay their taxes, but we're back up and running. With that, I will turn it over for any liaison reports. Are there any? All right. And then I'll now go and open it up to the public. If anybody has a comment on any agenda items, that's any of the resolutions that we will be voting on. If you have any comment on the agenda items, please raise your virtual hand and we will recognize and unmute you. Not a peep from our audience. Okay, well, thank you, audience. We're glad that you're staying on and listening. So with that, we're going to move right into our resolutions, and I'll turn it over to our Deputy Town Clerk, Martha Kudisaka. Thank you. In advance.
Approval of minutes, regular meeting, August 23rd, 2022. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the August 23rd, 2022 minutes of the regular meeting as presented.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Okay, approval of minutes, special meeting, September 6th, 2022. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the September 6th, 2022 minutes of the special meeting as presented.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions?
Approval of voucher detail report. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the voucher detail report dated September 13th, 2022 in the amount of $605,398.36.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
A resolution authorizing third-party plan review and inspection for residential and commercial buildings for the town of Austin. Whereas New York State has adopted the 2018 International Building Code Family of Codes with Amendments, named 2020 Codes of New York State, as a guiding principle pertaining to residential and commercial construction and development within the state. And whereas the town of Austin realizes that to promote public safety and preserve the quality and value of property within the community, coordinated development review processes are essential to ensuring that the adopted nationally recognized building codes and best practices are incorporated into buildings and structures. And whereas third-party plan review and inspection services will only be for the Energy Conservation Construction Code of the New York State, ECCC, NYS, or New York Stretch Compliance Review by the other departments in the town of Austin will be required. And whereas the town board deems it the best interest of the citizens of the town of Austin to authorize the building inspector to allow third-party plan to review for residential and commercial buildings in the town. And whereas the time of performance and terms of services are negotiated solely between the permit applicant and the third-party plan review and the inspection services provider. And whereas it shall be the permit applicant's responsibility to ensure the third-party plan review and inspection services receives all the necessary construction documents and list of municipal requirements. Approved stamped documents shall be submitted to the building department prior to the issuance of a building permit. And now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby makes the following findings and determination. 1, the findings and recitations set out in the preamble of this resolution are found to be true and correct and are hereby adopted by the town board and made a part of hereof for all purposes. 2, the town board hereby authorizes the building inspector to allow third-party plan review and inspection for compliances with the ECCC, NYS, and New York Stretch. This resolution shall be and become effective from and after the date of this adoption.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So just as a reminder, the town of Austin is participating in a pilot program with NYSERDA to offer third-party plan review for building permit applications in an effort to increase and ease compliance with the New York Stretch Energy Code. This pilot program is associated with some grant funds, which we are grateful for, and we can't wait to apply them to an exciting green project in the future. We also think that this is going to greatly help educate those applicants, as well as help assist the building department. So anybody have any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And this is also just an example of how some of the money from the state trickles down to the municipalities to support green initiatives.
Okay, resolution in support of Assembly Bill A-9079, Senate Bill S-8378, amending environmental conservation law by adding new section 240513, local freshwater wetlands pesticide prohibition, whereas New York State Assembly Bill A-9079, sponsored by Assembly Member Chris Burdick and by State Senator Pete Harcum, in the state Senate, seeks to amend the environmental conservation law to restore certain home rule rights to local governments. And whereas the legislation states as follows: a local government that has implemented a freshwater wetlands protection law ordinance in accordance with section 24-0501 of this title may adopt a local law or ordinance to prohibit the application of pesticides to wetlands and regulations, provided, however, that any such law or ordinance shall not prohibit pesticide applications for the control of invasive species identified pursuant to Title 17 of Article 9 of this chapter, pest of signified public health importance, noxious weeds that are designated by the department as injurious to ecosystem health, or for the protection of critical native plant species. Any local law ordinance adopted pursuant to this section shall take effect on the first day of January after it shall have been adopted. And whereas wetlands protection is critical to the town of Austining to protect drinking water and to provide floodplains protection, now therefore be resolved by the town of Austining that the town board does hereby support bill number A-9079-S-8378. The town board urges Governor Kathy Hochul to sign this critical legislation. A copy of this resolution shall be sent to the offices of the governor, Senator Harcum, Assembly Member Burdick, Senate Majority Leader Andrew Stewart Cousins, Assembly Speaker Carl Heastie, County Executive George Latimer, Sustainable Westchester, and the Westchester Municipal Officials Association.
Do I have a motion?
Wholeheartedly so moved.
Second, anybody?
Second.
Okay, so again, thank you so much to Assemblyman Chris Burdick for joining our meeting last week to give us some background information on this legislation. We are happy to offer our support as a board, I believe, and to urge the governor to sign this legislation so that local governments can implement increased wetlands protections at their individual discretion. Any questions or further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, fair enough. Anybody else?
Okay. Call for public hearing, local law regarding restoration of town roads. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining hereby calls for a public hearing to be held in the matter of a local law regarding restoration of town roads on Tuesday, September 27th at 7:30 p.m. held via video conferencing only in accordance with state authority, with the login information available on the town's website in advance of the meeting.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
So at our last work session, we heard from our town highway superintendent about how having legislation on the books regarding road restoration would be helpful when outside utilities like Con Ed come and do work on our town roads. We're modeling our legislation off of the village of Briarcliff, and I just saw the mayor this evening and who's very happy to hear that. And we look forward to hearing from the public at our next legislative session on the topic.
Can I make a suggestion for a friendly amendment?
Really? Yes.
The governor did not extend the state of emergency, so I think in the coming weeks, the board meetings will be transitioning back to in person. This resolution was prepared last week when we did not know that. So my recommendation for the amendment would be for the public hearing to be held at 16 Croton Avenue in the first floor conference room. Victoria, if you're okay with.
Yeah,
Got it.
that is correct. That's, yeah.
Sure. Motion with friendly amendment as articulated.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Okay. Resolution supporting the Clean Water, Clean Air, Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act of 2022, whereas providing clean drinking water and protecting our local rivers, bays, lakes, streams, and waterfronts from pollution is paramount the quality of life in New York State and the town of Austin, and whereas modernizing water infrastructure will safeguard clean water, reduce flooding, reduce lead exposure and other public health threats, and create jobs. And whereas the town of Austin is vulnerable to extreme weather, including deadly heat from rising temperatures and flooding from severe storms that put people, properties, and public assets across the town at risk. And whereas upgrading transportation and stormwater infrastructure, restoring natural resources, growing urban forests, building green roofs, and upgrading cooling centers will reduce the impact of extreme weather, saving lives and money. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated the importance of outdoor recreation and access to fresh local food as people flocked to local parks and sought out healthy foods for their families. And whereas upgrades to facilities at state and local parks and preserves and the creation of new outdoor recreational areas will benefit our region by protecting wildlife habitat, providing more people access to nature, and creating jobs in the outdoor recreation economy. And whereas the Clean Water, Clean Air, Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act of 2022 would authorize the $4 billion and $200 million of bonds to finance critical environmental restoration, clean water, and infrastructure projects across New York State. And whereas the funds would be targeted towards protecting the clean water, reducing flood risk, restoring natural resources, protecting open space and farmland, and reducing the pollution that causes climate change. And whereas the Clean Water, Clean Air, Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act of 2022 was passed by New York State legislators part of the 2022-2023 New York State budget and will appear on the November 8th, 2022 New York State general election ballot for voter approval. And whereas the Clean Water, Clean Air, Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act of 2022 includes strong labor provisions and will support more than 84,000 family sustaining jobs for New Yorkers. And whereas the Clean Water, Clean Air, Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act of 2022 would enable New York State and the town of Austin to address pollution and public health threats in disadvantaged communities by directing at least 35% with a goal of 40% of the measures funding to address hazardous conditions in such communities. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Austin supports passage of the Clean Water, Clean Air, Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act of 2022.
Motion,
Wholeheartedly. So moved.
Second.
so once again, thank you to Susie Ross for reminding us why this is so important. And hopefully we already knew. Remember to flip your ballot over this November. And with that, I call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Okay, thank you.
Proposal renewal Millennium Strategies LLC resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby accepts the proposal of Millennium Strategies LLC, Nanuet, New York 10954 for 12 months of grant writing services through August 2023 at a monthly fee of $3,000.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
So Millennium Strategies has been working for the town for about a year now on our grant applications. We're happy with their work thus far, which has secured us upwards of $100,000 in grant funds just in 1 year. Hopefully we can double or triple or maybe even quadruple that amount in the next year with their help. And we do have a lot of stuff in the stream. So we're hoping to, with the good feedback and the tweaking of some things that we didn't get last year, we have a better shot this year and some new grants in the hopper. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Okay. Tax payment plan 1-02 Barcliff Drive South, whereas the town of Austin is required to collect town, county, and school taxes for the municipality with the onus of the town to make whole the county and school district for any uncollected taxes. And whereas the receiver of taxes has been approached by a property owner requesting a short-term payment plan for the property at 1-02 Barcliff Drive South, tax parcel designation ID number 80.19-1-16/102. And whereas the town board pursuant to Article 5 of the Austin Town Code, as authorized by section of 1184 of the New York Real Property Tax Law, before entry of final judgment may withdraw a parcel for which payment of real property taxes is delinquent, may foreclosure proceeding and enter into an installment plan for payment of all delinquent taxes as well as interest and penalties. It does occasionally grant such a plan and has a discretion to accept or reject any proposal by a residential property owner, providing the owner meets the eligibility requirements set forth in section 180-17 of the town code, and the payment plan conforms to the requirements for such a repayment plan set forth in section 180-18 of the town code. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby grants the aforementioned payment plan, which terms comply with the town code, to this property owner who has been determined to be eligible, in the understanding that this sets no precedent going forward for this or any other property in the future.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So we are very grateful to our receiver of taxes for working so hard always to find a way to offer payment plans within the structure of our law that would ensure that property owners can maintain their ownership of their properties while paying off all taxes and fees owed to the town. So thank you, Tax Receiver Perlowitz, for your help and guiding the board to seek solutions. Any questions or discussion? And we do have 3 of these, so this was the first of 3. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, tax payment plan 6-04 Brook Club Drive. Whereas the town of Austin is required to collect town, county, and school taxes for the municipality with the owners of the town to make whole the county and school district for any uncollected taxes. And whereas the receiver of taxes has been approached by a property owner requesting a short-term payment plan for the property at 6-04 Brook Club Drive, tax parcel designation ID number 80.19-1-35/604, and whereas the town board pursuant to Article 5 of the Albany Town Code was authorized by Section 1184 of the New York Real Property Tax Law before entry of final judgment will withdraw a parcel for which payment of real property taxes is delinquent from foreclosure proceedings and enter an installment plan for payment of all delinquent taxes, as well the interest and penalties, and does occasionally grant such a plan and has a discretion to accept or reject any proposal for residential property owner, providing the owner meets the eligibility requirements set forth in Section 180-17 of the Town Code, and the payment plan conforms to the requirements for such a repayment plan set forth in Section 180-18 of the Town Code. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Austin hereby grants the aforementioned payment plan, which terms comply with the Town Code, to this property owner who has been determined to be eligible, with the understanding that this sets no precedent going forward for this or any other property in the future.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Tax payment plan 1 Brandrett Street, whereas the town of Austin is required to collect town, county, and school taxes for the municipality with the owners of the town to make whole the county and school district for any uncollected taxes. And whereas the receiver of taxes has been approached by a property owner requesting a short-term payment plan for the property at 1 Brandrett Street, tax parcel designation ID number 89.19-5-62. And whereas the town board pursuant to Article 5 of the Austin Town Code is authorized by Section 1184 of the New York Real Property Tax Law before entry of a final judgment may withdraw parts of which payment of real property taxes is delinquent from a foreclosure proceedings and enter into an installment plan for payment of all delinquent taxes as well as interest and penalties, does occasionally grant such a plan that has the question to accept or reject any proposal by a residential property owner, providing the owner meets the eligibility requirements set forth in Section 180-17 of the Town Code, and the payment plan conforms to the requirements of such a repayment plan set forth in Section 180-18 of the Town Code, and therefore be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Austin hereby grants the aforementioned payment plan which terms comply with the Town Code to this property owner who has been determined to be eligible, with the understanding that sets no precedent going forward for this or any other property in the future.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you again to Holly Perlowitz, tax receiver.
Correspondence to be received and filed, result of the Town Board of the Town of Austin hereby accepts the following correspondence. Town Planning Board meeting, August 3rd, 2022 and August 16th, 2022.
Motion,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Okay, monthly reports, result of the Town Board of the Town of Austin hereby accepts the following monthly reports for the month of August 2022. Town Highway Department, GE Helicopter, Town Building Department, Town Clerk, Tax Receiver, and Town Supervisor.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And now we are up to the visitor recognition section of our meeting. If there's anybody here who would like to comment on anything whatsoever, you have 1 4-minute opportunity to do so. If you go over a little bit, we will not say anything tonight since there are not a lot of you. In fact, there's 0 of you now. Our last committee member just left. So I think we're just going to move right along, and I would ask for motion to adjourn to executive session for advice of counsel, personnel, and contracts.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. Big news, next week, our town board meeting will be back in person at 16 Croton Avenue for a town hall meeting. Yes, in person. Governor Hochul did not continue the executive order allowing for Zoom meetings. So we will be resuming our hybrid meetings with the board in person and members of the public and guests having the option to appear via Zoom or in person. I've said in person like 20 times. We look forward to seeing your smiling faces next week, either on Zoom or in person. Can't wait. See you soon. Have a great week, everybody. So I took a vote, right? Okay. Good night.
Night.